With this revelation weighing heavily on his shoulders and his ex-wife and former partner allegedly stealing $9 million from their joint ventures, a reality he had been struggling with for far too long, Kirk Frost leaned against the polished countertop of his opulent studio. His expression wavered between disbelief and simmering anger as he prepared to reveal the shocking truth that had sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. I trusted her, so learning that she has been embezzling money from us seems like a betrayal on many fronts. The studio was once a center of now. Teamwork and creativity seemed like a battlefield. Kirk looked back on their early days together with a mixture of nostalgia and regret. Together, they built an empire in the music industry, turning their aspirations into a successful brand that expanded into fashion and lifestyle. At least, that's what Kirk thought, but as the company grew, he noticed the challenges. Kirk had begun to notice little but worrying differences in their books, which at first I assumed were just accounting errors or poor management. He shook his head, recalling flashbacks, but when I started to delve farther, it was like witnessing a house of cards fall apart in front of my eyes when I discovered records of transfers that made no sense. The problem got worse when he chose to employ a forensic accountant to look into the accounts. When the report finally arrived, it was a gut punch. The evidence pointed directly to Rasheeda, detailing unauthorized withdrawals and hidden transactions that painted a troubling picture of betrayal. Hearing those numbers was devastating, and he continued speaking barely above a whisper. It's one thing to wait for the findings, but Kirk's heart raced as he awaited them, each day passing and his sense of dread growing. Argue about corporate decisions, but this was blatant stealing. Kirk's memory of the moment the accountant gave him the report with the numbers made me ill, flashed before his eyes, each numeral standing for broken dreams and shattered faith. The public devoured every detail of Ashford v. Rasheeda's turbulent history filled with love, and social media erupted with the couple's hashtag. Fans and followers of both Kirk and Rasheeda reacted with shock and disbelief. I had poured my heart and soul into our brand, and to find out that the person I trusted the most was stealing from me was a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Conflict and passion only served to stir the flames. In the midst of the growing drama, Kirk thought back on their relationship, remembering both the highs and lows they had experienced over the years. I never thought it would come to this. It feels like I'm losing not just a business partner, but someone who was once my best friend, Kirk said. Rasheeda didn't say anything, which fueled further rumors. Sitting in the studio surrounded by reminders of what had happened, Kirk vented his disgust, saying, "I want answers. I deserve to know why she did this and how she thought she could get away with it. We built this together. It's not just about the money." Their previous dreams together, Kirk was determined to recover what was lost, so he started looking into his legal options. Since the loss was about integrity and respect as well as money, he had to act. "I created this empire with my blood, sweat, and tears, and I won't let it be taken away." Getting legal advice and planning his next move, their combined corporate and personal lives would surely be rocked by the fallout from this revelation, and there may even be legal ramifications. What effect would this have on their reputation and the supporters that helped Kirk through the choppy waters he felt? A revitalized feeling of direction that I owed to myself, and Kirk Frost revealed that Rasheeda had betrayed him, setting the stage for a dramatic story that would captivate audiences. Behind the glitz and glamour of their public personas lay a complex web of emotions hurt by betrayal and the lingering question of how love could turn into such animosity. As the media frenzy continued, Kirk found solace in his friends and supporters, reminding him that he was not alone in this fight. "At the end of the day, it's about accountability," Kirk declared. "Solidifying don't silence me, and I'm not coming back. Put an end to everyone observing." Kirk braced himself for the impending tempest, certain that the truth will ultimately. The future had many unknowns, but one thing was certain: the conflict between love and treachery would play out in unexpected ways, keeping viewers on the edge of their seats to witness the dramatic conclusion to this story. Kirk walked around the poorly lit living room, his every step accompanied by the growing wave of resentment and treachery that washed over him. His voice was barely audible above a whisper, as the weight of Rasheeda's confession dropped heavily in the thick, oppressive air. He whispered, "You actually did it." "Lie to me." Rasheeda crossed her arms and stood. "I didn't come here to play the blame game," she said with defiance on her face. "You think you're the only one who can enjoy yourself a bit on the side, Kirk?" His heart dropped in shock, wrath, and astonishment. Was it someone else I knew? Did you really think I'd just let this go unnoticed? She advanced with a menacing gleam in her eyes. "You don't have the right to question me. You had your fair share of late nights and private discussions. Do you really believe that I would just ignore this?" Kirk's breath caught my rising fury. "I thought we were actually doing something, and you made me seem like a... Well, welcome to the club, darn idiot." She became agitated. He ran a hand through his hair, feeling the weight of treachery crush him. "So that's your reason?" Rising, I was tired of acting like everything was okay while you were out running after whoever caught your eye. I'm tired of being the one who gets stepped on. So why didn't you just tell me? Why didn't you confront me about what I did? He took a step forward, his voice steadying as he fought. "You thought you'd just cheat back. That's how you survive. It's not about revenge. It's about standing up for myself." Her voice trembled. "To maintain composure because I wanted to think you could be different." He repeated his heartbreaking words. "I couldn't just sit there and wait for you to decide to be honest. You made me feel worthless." She acknowledged that the fire in her eyes had temporarily dimmed. "I never desired that. Believing that we were in this conjoined, you think I wanted to be the one to cheat? I felt like I had no choice. Every time I attempted to communicate with you, it was like hitting a wall. I felt invisible." Rasheeda shook her head, tears shimmering at the corners of her eyes. Kirk was struck by the seriousness of her words, softening his gaze as he inhaled deeply. "I didn't realize that I had been thinking that I was shielding you by." Keeping things simple, he took another step forward, vulnerability showing through his wrath. "I was trying to keep us afloat by lying," she fired back, but the sharpness had softened. "You can't build a relationship on half-truths and silence." "I apologize. I mistakenly believed that I could manage everything on my own. I never intended to hurt you. Now, what do you want?" "Kirk, what do you want from us now, honestly?" She questioned in a voice that was almost whispery. "I want us to be real. I want to lay it all out. No more secrets. No more lies." "I'm done pretending," he added, his tone tightening. Rasheeda examined him. Her shoulder stiffness was starting to loosen up a little bit. "Are you genuinely?" "Be prepared for that. Things might get ugly and painful." Then, with an almost hopeful spark between them, he said, "Messy is better than nothing." She hesitated, obviously considering his words. "It's not going to be easy. Trust has been broken, and we'll have to rebuild it from the ground up." He said, I know there was a note of sincerity in his voice, but if we're both willing to be honest, maybe we can find our way back. It won't be perfect, but I want to try. At last, Rasheeda uncrossed her arms, and as the barrier separating them started to crumble, her countenance softened. "All right, let's begin with the whole truth." Kirk inhaled deeply, feeling both relieved and nervous. "I was afraid, Rasheeda, afraid I'd screw things up or lose you, so I buried my head in distractions. But that wasn't fair to you, and I was scared too," she said, a tiny sigh slipping out of her mouth. "I attempted to take control in the only way I knew because I was afraid of being vulnerable and getting wounded again." When Kirk went closer, their eyes locked in a moment of mutual understanding, and maybe we could find a middle ground. "I need to know what you need from me. I need to be honest. Kirk, can you just confirm that you're not simply trying to save face? I really need to know." As they stood together, the air between them shifted, filled with the promise of rebuilding and renewal. They knew the road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time in a long time, hope flickered between them, a fragile light in the middle of their chaos. "I'll show you," he said steadily, but he was promised to do the same. She nodded slowly, a tentative smile breaking through.